So when they wrote these, they're using it like you would a diary. They're just writing for themselves and sharing it out there. What we've done is cut and pasted it into a script. So, the voices will bounce back and forth between these 7 women, but you'll get a sense of each of them by the time we get through. It's about 20 minutes. I'll ask the actors to come out. And I'll briefly introduce them. Kathy Podeswa also made the script. Peggy White, Vicki Main here, Jean Schrammick, Crystal Pelkey, Shay Menzel-Zupek, and on the far end is Crystal Schultz. These are all actors from within our community who are bringing their talent and their voices so that you can get a sense of what the journey can be like. We all know people in our lives who go through this cancer trip. And so getting a sense of what that is like for different people just gives us a more, a broader way to be of help to ourselves and to those we love. So, thank you.
Introductions and the beginning of a cancer trek.
I choose to call myself Irish.
Dragonfly.
Queenie.
Ellie.
Well, maybe I should call myself Murphy.
I'm Ellie.
Josie M.
Joelle.
Faith.
I have been cancer-free for less than a year.
1 to 3 years.
Over 3 years.
My treatments included
A lumpectomy,
sentinel lymph
Mastectomy.
node dissection,
Chemotherapy.
stellar mastectomy,
Radiation
chemotherapy, radiation
hormone
therapy,
therapy,
hormone therapy.
and hormone therapy.
I fail to see why people call cancer a journey. I think of a journey as being a pleasant experience, a vacation, a leisurely passage.
In November 2010, I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer. 1 month later, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. How could it be that I had to fight 2 cancers at the same time?
I had an idea to write a book called Trekking Across the Cancer Landscape.
When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I literally did not think it was going to be more than a bump in the road. The cancer itself was extremely rare. It was a good form to have. A simple lumpectomy, little radiation, hey, I would be good as new.
I imagine a plod, a trudge.
Well, like I said, my name should be Murphy. The simple lumpectomy discovered 2 other forms of cancer. What, you say? Yes, 3 different types of cancer. What the heck are the odds of that?
Or maybe slogging through a swampy slough with all sorts of hazards to face.
Went to see my oncologist today to see what his thoughts were on the sudden lymphedema problem I had been experiencing the past 3 weeks. He has scheduled me for a PET scan to rule out a possible deep tumor in my armpit area. He says he is fairly optimistic that I do not have a hidden tumor.
Maybe having a stench to go along, like having a bad dream in real life.
Got my PET scan news back as well as my blood tests. The good news is that my breast cancer has not returned to my affected side, but what it did show was something with my thyroid gland.
A person who hasn't had cancer doesn't understand the myriad of obstacles encountered.
BRCA1. Ever heard of that? Just after diagnosis and before lumpectomy, a genetic test was strongly suggested. So I gave some blood and we went ahead with the lumpectomy and sentinel node biopsy. Before I started chemo, the blood test came back. Bottom line, I was positive for BRCA1.
Sometimes I find myself just hanging by a thread, wondering what will happen next.
I have 2 sons and a daughter, 3 granddaughters, and 2 grandsons. My children give blood, and they all come back positive. I hate BRCA1. I hate cancer.
I've been trying to figure out when I can say I am cancer-free. I was diagnosed with stage 3B breast cancer in November 2010. Chemo started in December and lasted 5 months. The double mastectomy was in April 2011. The surgery for the thyroid cancer was in early June. Radiation started in late June and lasted until August. I I had radioactive iodine for the thyroid cancer in September and then again in March 2012. Last June, I had my 6-month PET scan and labs for the breast cancer. I want to be able to say I have been cancer-free for a year, but when is that?
The journey goes on. My cancer is part of the past and could have been someone else's story. I don't dwell on my experience with cancer and cannot change what it has done to my body, but I can keep it from eating away at my mind.
Thinking about pink.
So, I'm sitting in the doctor's office with my husband after the diagnosis. The nurse comes in with a handful of papers and this hot pink flannel bag.
You know, even before I started this whole breast cancer journey, personally, I never really was crazy about the color pink.
This is the start of forms and information packets. I will be doing pre-op lab work and x-rays today. Everyone has been very nice.
Oh, pink's okay for cute little girls, but grown women? Personally, I never took to it.
As the nurse shuffles through her stack, she comes to the hot pink flannel bag with the silk ribbon tie.
Pink hats, pink socks, pink shoes.
She explains that one of the clinic staff has made these for breast cancer patients. Inside, everything you might want to know about cancer treatments, survival, grief, etc., etc., etc.
Nothing tells the world you were at the breast cancer center like the pink folder they give you.
Pink hammers, pink scarves.
As I proceed to the waiting area for lab work, I'm carrying this beautiful hot pink bag. No one notices it, right?
I dread the month of October because I swear they turn the whole town here pink.
Pink football players.
I wish I could sit on it or hide it under my shirt.
You walk into the grocery store and the bakery section has pink cakes, cupcakes, cookies, and even way too weird brownies with pink icing.
Pink referees, pink cheerleaders.
It lays on my lap as we make our way home. Walking through the door, I pitch it across the room. I can handle this. Just don't try to disguise it in a hot pink bag.
Pink, 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 everywhere.
When I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer, so many people gave me little gifts, and most of them were pink.
I too have little gifts of pink and honestly wonder what to do with them.
Pink pens, socks, scarves, books, writing paper, shirts, hats, and PJs.
Pink soup cans.
I quickly got to the point that every time I saw something pink, I felt like throwing up. I suppose it could have been from the chemo, but I associated it with pink.
Am I still a woman?
When I first had my surgeries, I avoided the mirror. As life went on, I could not avoid it. I would open the shower curtain and be startled. Who was the guy in the bathroom? This was a shock every morning. No hair, no breasts. I literally looked like a man.
Now that the treatment is over, I have started to wonder if I am still a woman without any of the parts that make me one. I am beginning to feel insecure when I am around others. I find myself crossing my arms to cover up my flat chest.
I don't want to make strangers uncomfortable with what seems like an obvious altercation with cancer. I sure don't want pity or to see horror in their eyes. What is the best way to deal with this without making a fuss?
I still feel like a woman, but I can't help but wonder what others see when they look at me.
My husband is a breast man. It has been very traumatic for him and for our relationship. I really didn't have a clue how traumatic it would be or how hard we would have to work at not letting my body image completely change our 43-year marriage.
My husband has been supportive during my treatments, but he has not touched my chest and averts his eyes if I'm dressing. We used to have a good sexual relationship, and I miss it. He tells me that he loves me, but that is as far as it goes. I can't seem to break through this.
I know he loves me, but seeing him struggle with how I look has been heartbreaking. I see why some relationships don't make it.
When I was diagnosed with breast cancer 4 years ago, my marriage was not in a good place. We had been married 16 years. Slowly, as many marriages do, we had grown apart and were struggling to stay together. We were talking separation and divorce. Then, boom, out of the blue, the cancer diagnosis.
We will survive as a couple because we have always known that marriage is work. Times away together have always involved fun, relaxation, and what we call cheap marriage counseling. These last years have been some of the most gut-wrenching counseling sessions we have ever gone through.
I was no longer the woman he knew, the woman he had first met and fell in love with and married. He was frozen. Our marriage and our lives brought to a screeching halt because of this cancer. He felt sorry for me, didn't know what to say or do. He's always been a fix-it sort of a guy. But he couldn't fix this. He couldn't fix the cancer, couldn't fix me, couldn't fix our marriage. So he chose to do nothing. I can't blame him, and I don't blame him. What is one supposed to do in situations like that? So here we are, 4 years later, still together, but not quite fixed.
I am still me, and he is still a breast man. But we will continue to evolve in our relationship.
My husband told me early on he loved me anyway. But I do miss my breasts sometimes, especially during those intimate moments. You can get along without, but they were sexy.
My husband has a hard time looking at me when I have no shirt on. My breasts that were such a big attraction for him are no longer there. So he cannot look at me the same. He doesn't look at me the same. He never says anything. Just doesn't look, cannot look. I always wear a t-shirt around him. He never sees me completely naked anymore. It is too hard for him to look and too hard for me to see him look away.
When I was having chemo, I was not at all interested in having sex because I was physically so tired and weak from the treatments. And then afterward, I felt that I wasn't really a whole woman because I had had a left side mastectomy and felt very lopsided and weird. I just kept looking at my scar and thinking that I was a freak. But I did always feel happy just to be here. It was a strange dichotomy.
I had my double mastectomy a year ago, and yesterday was the first time I really talked with my husband about what I felt and am feeling now. I was able to tell him that I often felt lonely and isolated. I was able to ask him to look at my chest and to touch the scars. They are now part of who I am and will always be there. Before this journaling, I was not able to open up so much to anyone.
Well-meaning people and unhelpful messages.
I have had people ask me, now that you have had cancer, what are you going to do? Well, what does that mean? I just chuckle and think, I'm going to get through this day. They think maybe I should run a marathon or some other statements like some cancer survivors do. Heck, I never ran them before. Why would I start now? How do I explain to them that right now I just need to make it through today?
When someone calls me a cancer survivor, I feel as though I'm walking around with a ball and chain around my ankles. I feel tethered to my past, and I hate that. I want to keep moving freely to my hopes and my dreams, no strings attached.
I am overwhelmed at times with the things I need to do and the things I want to do. I met a cancer survivor that talked about her bucket list and how having cancer gave her the motivation to do the things she wanted to do. It sounded wonderful when she described the places she had traveled to and the time she spent with friends and family. She encouraged me to do the same. Then reality knocked me to the ground. Her husband was a cardiac surgeon. They had a beautiful home. She had a part-time maid, and she did not work outside the home. How could I do those things when I needed to work in order to keep our family going?
Cancer was the best thing to happen to me. A friend of mine told me a person said that to her. She went on to describe how she changed her outlook on life and what was really important. Well, I think cancer was the worst thing that happened to me. I liked my life and outlook on it just fine. I don't like the collateral damage cancer has caused.
Every once in a while, more often than I like, I run into someone who seems to look down their nose at me because I've had cancer. As if cancer was a result of something bad I did. Bad diet, bad attitude, bad lifestyle, bad belief system, bad person, bad habits, bad, bad, bad. And I can just see that judgmental finger wagging at me. Shame, shame, shame. They're so smug. Yes, that is the right word. The dictionary definition is exhibiting offensive satisfaction with oneself or with one's situation, self-righteously complacent.
Yesterday I had a visitor. A gal I had not had contact with in over a year dropped in. It was a bizarre visit. She started out by letting me know that she had been avoiding me. I guess people do not like to look cancer in the face. Seeing me the last time she did, she could not deny that I was going through treatment. It is strange for me to encounter people that live in denial.
I just ran into a smug, finger-wagging woman who accused me of talking more about what I think than how I feel. How do you feel today, she asks me. I think it's going to be a good day, I say. Well, that's what you think, but you're not telling me how you feel. Be more specific. And she goes on with a little sermon about how people can't be concerned or care about me if I don't share my honest feelings.
During the course of our visit, we talked many things. She told me she had just turned 50 and hated it. I was taken aback. I looked at her and asked, "Have you considered the alternative?"
Now she's pushing the issue, and I think she won't like what I feel. I feel like turning around and walking away. I feel like giving her the yucky face. I feel like telling her it's none of her business. But instead, I am nice, and I repeat with a nod of my head, I feel good. I wondered if she noticed I just changed my thought into a feeling. She forced a smile and walked away, smug.
After she left, I reflected on our relationship over the years. She was a taker, one of those people that when she needed something, she was your friend. I don't foresee another visit in our future. I literally just do not have the energy for carrying the load of that type of friendship.
There are about half a dozen well-meaning people like this in my life. I smile and turn off my brain when I meet them because one day cancer might bite them in the butt or the bust. And I must be careful not to be smug.
How to develop your bad attitude.
I have developed a very bad attitude. I don't care. I don't care if I spend money on my grandchildren. I don't care if I take off for the weekend with my husband. I don't care if the darn basement doesn't get cleaned. This type of list goes on and on. Why? Because I do care. I do care about seeing the look on the grandchildren's faces because Grandma brought them a surprise. Watching their excitement, well worth it. I do care that my husband prefers to spend time with me rather than doing another one of those little jobs on the honey-do list. He'll get to it, just not right now. If I died tomorrow, would anyone really care if my basement was clean? Probably not. They would, however, be glad that I had that last coffee, visit, or lunch with them. So, I have developed a bad attitude. My family and friends have always come first in my world, and now they are more so. If I feel like reading a book, taking a nap, or taking a walk, I do it. The dishes, laundry, whatever, is going to wait. Right now, I should or could be doing many things, but I prefer at this minute to do exactly what I am doing. I think most people my age were raised to get your work done first. Then you can play. I did this all the time and realized that I seldom had any time to play because there was always more work to be done. I find that if I have the energy to do something, I will do it now. If I have any energy left over, then I can tackle some of the work, and guess what? The world did not stop.
Blessings and renewal. During the time I had chemotherapy, there were people in my life who were so amazing and supportive. And I think almost every day how happy I am to have them in my life.
My caregivers were wonderful, and I thank God for them. I take what I've learned and let it make me stronger. I used to be very timid and trusted no one, not even myself. This journey made me realize that I am stronger and smarter and more capable than I thought I was. I've learned who I am, and in that way, my cancer was a precious gift.
Being a nurse, I have seen cancer from many angles, and when I was diagnosed, I saw it from a very new and different angle. Now I was on the other side of the process, looking at it from a new perspective. It opened my eyes to the many ways I could improve on my own nursing skills, my own bedside manner, my own views on how people are treated and taken care of. It opened my eyes and helped me to become a better nurse and a better person.
I have great appreciation for healthcare workers in all areas of healthcare, but I am most grateful for the people who devote their time working with cancer patients. When having my first biopsy, the nurses, techs, and others were so very kind and helpful. From volunteers to oncologists, everyone took time to answer questions and offer support. The infusion nurses made the long treatments bearable. Having had cancer wasn't the greatest experience, but dealing with all the wonderful people involved with my care made the experience a rewarding one. For that, I am eternally grateful.
Thoughts about journaling.
Today is the day to begin journaling. All of the things I have written, documented, and felt over the last few years boggle the mind. And personally, I don't even like thinking about them.
I have tried journaling in the past. It has been a dismal failure. Even after the breast cancer surgeries, I tried to write and it didn't feel good. But it is hard to ignore the mirror. Hair different, scars where my breasts once were. So I decided to try this journaling business one more time. Maybe with more than one person having input, I can peel away the layers and get to the meat of the matter.
Wondering if this is where I need to be at this time in my life, writing in an online journal. I've never been a big journal person, just sort of jotting things down here and there over the years. And now this? An online journal? Is anyone interested in what I might have to say or think about my breast cancer experience?
I joined this online group because I felt that I was hiding so much from others and from myself. I have not been able to think of the cancer for more than a minute, let alone focus on it. Deep down, I knew that I needed to do this.
When I sit at my computer to write, my mind goes blank. I keep 5 journals going simultaneously and have no trouble filling them. I have no trouble expressing my joys, my fears, excitements and disappointments, worries and dreams, but always in pencil. At the computer, I think my mind is blank.
What is most on my mind is how confused I am now. I'm starting to feel things that I didn't allow myself to feel when I was diagnosed. I also feel like throwing up because I am forcing myself to think about the cancer while I write this.
It helps me to bring out a lot of feelings to write in this journal. I am so impressed with everyone who writes here for their strength and courage. It's not an easy thing to do.
Journaling. I have done it before, but not like this. I have found this rather freeing, and it has been good to read what others in the same boat are going through and how they are handling it, how it makes them feel. I am not alone. I knew that, but this is almost as good as having someone to talk to. It is not that I don't have friends or family that care, but it is just different when you have the diagnosis.
Before this journaling, I was not able to open up so much to anyone. I also noticed that reading all of the other entries made me realize how much I feel connected with women I have not even met. That feels so great to not be alone.
I am sad this is the last week of writing in this journal. It has been helpful for me to have some place to share my thoughts and feelings with other women who have, in one way or another, shared the same journey as I. This has been a safe place for me, and I will miss it.
I am a bit teary to think that this is over. It has been a privilege sharing with you all. I feel honored to have had a small window into your day-to-day stuff. I am grateful for this opportunity. It has been good to get it out.